Hey guys, Anthony back at you at the Gazellelab. Today we have another Android phone battle between the Sony Xperia TX, which is right here, and the Samsung Galaxy S3. This is the T-Mobile version of the device. So just for you international viewers, this is a dual-core chip phone, not a quad-core like you guys have over there, but we'll get into that right now. So let's start with basic size comparison between the two devices. Overall, very similar in size. You have about 131 by 68 by 8.6 millimeters thin on the Xperia, and on the GS3 it's 136, a little bit taller, a little bit wider at 70, but exact same thinness, both 8.6. But I think the Xperia looks a little bit nicer. You do get that curve, which Sony released in the Xperia Arc, which is very nice. It gives us something a little bit different instead of the traditional slab Android design. In terms of weight, 127 grams on the Xperia, and about 133 on the S3. So a little bit lighter. Perhaps build quality almost the same. Put this down real quick. Almost the same. A little plasticky on both. Nothing too great in terms of build quality on both devices, but I think for Samsung, good build quality. In the past, they haven't been that great. I think Sony's also always had decent quality, decent builds. So overall, I think both devices are pretty good. So let's get into screen. Both have the same screen, 720 by 1280 on each. The Xperia is a TFT capacitive touchscreen, 16 million colors, and the GS3 is a Super AMOLED capacitive touchscreen. You will get a little bit more pixel density on the Xperia TX because it is a 4.55-inch display, so that's measured diagonally here, in comparison to a 4.8. So bigger screen, same pixel, you're going to have a little bit more clarity on the Xperia because of that. In terms of UI, we'll look here at the Samsung. It's the Touchwiz Ui. And over here on the Xperia, you do have the Timescape UI. I think in terms of UI, I'll have to give it to the Samsung. I think that the Touchwiz is a little bit better. The Timescape UI, like I said in my previous review of this phone, adds a little bit of lag to the phone, so I have been using a Nova launcher with it. It did get better since I updated the phone. Sony released an update for the phone, but it's still, I think the Galaxy is a little bit quicker. Even though they're using pretty much the same processor, both dual-core 1.5 Adreno 225 chips, Snapdragon chips from Qualcomm, the UI on the Xperia adds a little bit of bulk to it. In terms of memory, they're both 16 gigabytes internal. There's a 32 gigabyte version of the S3 here in the States as well. This is a 16 gigabyte version. 1 gig of RAM on the Xperia TX, and you have 2 gigs on the S3, which another reason why you might feel it's a little bit quicker. HSDPA 42 megabytes on each, so they both support the same bands. HSDPA 850, 900, 1700, 1900, 2100, which is great. You can get these on either bands. This is the T-Mobile version, so it does support 1700. The LTE version for AT&T supports it, but you also get LTE connectivity on the other 3 carriers, such as AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint. Remember, Sprint, Verizon are CDMA, so it's going to be a little bit of a different device in terms of chipset. In terms of camera, let's go with a 13 megapixel on the Xperia TX and an 8 megapixel on the GS3. I think both cameras are pretty on par though, so we can get into a picture. I'll show you some quality. Classic picture that I always take. So we'll leave that up for you guys. And then we'll go with the Xperia TX dedicated camera button, which is cool, guys. So there you have it, the picture. You might see it like a little bit more clarity in the Xperia TX, but overall both have fantastic cameras and a ton of features too on these cameras. A whole bunch of different things from geotagging to touch focus, face detection. The only thing I like I said, you do get that dedicated camera button While we're on the side right here, you can see the profile volume rocker on the Xperia TX, and you get the charge port up here. On the bottom is the charge port for the GS3. I'm sure many of you guys already know that. And then on top, both 3.5 millimeter jacks. And then if you look on the other side, power buttons both on both sides. So layout, very not equal but very similar. In terms of connectivity too, they also have Wi-Fi, dual band Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi Direct, DLNA, Wi-Fi hotspot, NFC. So both support NFC. You're going to get a little bit newer version of Bluetooth on the GS3, which is version 4.0 in comparison to 3.1. Accelerometer, gyro, proximity, compass on both devices, as well as barometer on the GS3. GPS, variety of colors. This comes in Xperia TX, comes in black, white, and pink. And the GS3, and now I think it's crazy. It's red, titanium, white, black. There's now a brown, a garnet red, a whole bunch of different colors depending on your region and your carrier. Last but not least, battery life. A 1750 mAh battery on the Xperia TX gets you around 300 hours standbys, a little bit over 6.5 hours talk time in comparison to a giant 2100 battery on the GS3, which will get you up to 10 hours talk time and 2 hours standby. So overall, I think I've experienced great battery with both devices. So one good thing is the back on the TX comes off, unlike the Xperia T, which is the James Bond phone. So you can replace the battery. So like I said, this is one of the official James Bond phones, the TL, the T, and the TX. I covered that in my review of this device. Overall, two great devices, but let's talk price right now. So if you're looking unlocked for both devices, almost around the same, about $600 for a GS3. The Xperia TX is around $550. The Xperia TX, unfortunately, though, in the US, it didn't come to the US with a carrier, so you're going to have to fork out that $550 if you want the phone. With the GS3, you can get it on a 2-year contract, anywhere from $99 to $199. So it might be a little bit more affordable to get the GS3. So my final thoughts, what are my picks? I think the GS3 in terms of performance is a tad better. It's a little bit of a better phone than the TX, but I think I like the TX a little bit better, and that's just for the sheer design of it. The GS3 is a little old. It's been out for a while. A lot of people are starting to have it, and just my personal preference, I really like the design and the feel and the hardware of the Sony Xperia TX. So there you have it. Either device, you really can't go wrong. Two great devices, one from Samsung and one from Sony. I hope you enjoyed my review. Thanks.